And there we go. So we are now recording. And again, guys, welcome very much to the Microsoft Teams chats and calls class. This is the very first time that I've actually taught this class. So please help me out here as we go through. If you see things that obviously don't make any sense, just feel free to send a chat or unmute yourself and just interrupt me to make sure we get everything correct. The very first thing I'm going to do here is really briefly, in just a minute or two, I want to tell you the purpose of how we plan to use Microsoft Teams at Lanier Tech. I want to start every meeting with this because I know we're going to have different folks coming in that have either, some have been able to attend the earlier meetings when we did the intro and some haven't. So the whole purpose that we have intended to use Microsoft Teams for is really as a one-stop shop for as much as we can possibly do. And that's kind of the way Microsoft intended it to be used. So right now we have, if you're familiar with Jabber, I don't know how many of you guys have Jabber on your computer, but Jabber is your telephone at work, but it's also a chat program, and a lot of the other employees at Lanier Tech have Jabber, so you can use that as an instant messaging chat program. You can do screen sharing with it. You can do remote control things with it and answer your desk phone with it. We also have SharePoint and intranet, and our file storage is split between both of those. That's web-based. Some of the stuff on SharePoint is very, very old, but some of it's maintained, and the presentation of a lot of that materials is just the raw file structure. Very good. Thank you for letting me know, Yolanda, that you have Jabber. That's awesome. The more people that use it, the better. If you have a desk phone, we encourage you to have Jabber, and if you'd like the chat and you want to use that instead of anything else, please do. Our intention is to move everybody off of Jabber for everything except for the phone side of it over the next 6 to 8 months or so. The plan is to have Teams fully implemented by the end of March. And so all the material that's on SharePoint, all the material that's on the intranet, the files that are on the intranet should be migrated into Teams. If you're a full-time employee or a part-time and you have a U drive, that drive should have been migrated over into, hopefully everybody's done that, migrated over onto your My Documents folder. So we've already done that. And then if you have another drive in a department, and I don't know if any of you guys do, but a lot of departments have shared drives. The business office will have a shared drive where they have shared forms and documentation and things like that. IT department used to have one. So what we're doing is we're taking all that and we're putting that into Microsoft Teams, so as much as we can, which honestly is just about everything. So far, once we've looked at it and talked to different departments, we've been able to look at moving everything that they have file-wise either into their My Documents folder, because it's individualized documents that no one else needs access to, or putting it in Microsoft Teams. And that does several things. It's going to consolidate a lot of your access. So if we move chat, if we move a lot, even our voice calls just in our office, if we move file storage, file presentation, informational stuff, like a one-stop shop for everything that you can come and do, can be inside Microsoft Teams. And so we don't have to teach people how to use a ton of different products. We don't have to teach people how to, well, where is it at on SharePoint? Well, did we upgrade a SharePoint? Now it's in a different place. But now we moved it over to intranet, but now it's been put on, on the website, and it's all over the place. So this is really a tool that we're going to use to simplify data storage, data presentation, including like the employee manuals and orientation information, which doesn't even really exist yet, things like that, all within Microsoft Teams. So with that said, let me give you a really brief tour of Teams. And so I'm going to share my screen with you. And we cover all this in intro, so I'm going to go really fast through this, but I want you to be able to see it. Hopefully everybody can see my screen now. And inside Microsoft Teams, in intro we cover installing Teams, accessing Teams via the web, accessing the download to be able to put it on your desktop, that type of thing. So we're not really going to cover a lot of that right now, but I am going to give you like a 50,000-foot 2-minute overview of the structure. So on Teams, this is where we have different teams. These teams are composed either of small groups that need to share information, or committees. We're going to be putting all the committees into Microsoft Teams. or organizational structure, based on organizational structure. So the LTC IT team is everybody that works for me in the IT department. The cabinet is a committee type structure. The sysadmins is a functional structure. You can see some other committee type structures down here. And then native banner team is automatically updated with everyone that has native banner access. Again, the bit and Clary team, that's more of a committee type structure. And then we've got Hall Campus. That's an organizational structure. Anybody whose home base is the Hall Campus is in this team. Full-time, all full-time folks are in that team. Again, that's organizationally structured based on the organizational chart. The marketing team, people in the marketing department and others that may need access to that information. Again, another IT team down there, that's just a mistake. We don't need to worry about that. So this is going to have, like I said, three purposes: committee structures, organizational structures, or functional groups. An example of a functional group is the live chat team. So everybody that answers the live chats that come in through the website, that comes from all different walks of departments across the college. And so we have a group there where we can store training materials for that group. That group has chat areas in there for internal chats within the group, as well as the ability to chat with others outside. So there's all those bits and pieces that are contained within that. What I'm going to use as an example here to show you, I'm going to go into the all team members, and this is all employees of the college, whether you're full-time, part-time. So what you're going to notice here right up front is this is the posts area, and I am in the general channel. So if you look on this left-hand side, we've got a breakdown over here, and this is going to have the team name always and a logo if the team has a custom logo. You're going to see the general channel, and then you're going to have multiple tabs across the top. By default, you're going to have at least posts and files. Some have staff notebook. That's an old carryover. And unfortunately, we can't delete it. Microsoft doesn't allow us to delete that. They don't put it on the new teams, but it's there on all the old ones, and we don't use it. So here in all team members, we don't allow general chat in the general channel. So don't worry about that. I'm an owner. That's why I could go in here and start a conversation. So I could click new conversation. It would start a chat. We'll cover chat in a different team. The other things we can do in here is hit files, and so this is where our file storage is within Teams. So this is shared with everybody at the college. And the idea is that we wouldn't put files in here that we want to hide from others. We might put files in here that you can't change, and that's going to be a lot of them, probably most of them. But we wouldn't put anything in here and have to control the permissions and try to remove visibility from others because that defeats the purpose of a team. A team is where we share information that the whole team needs. Maybe they don't need to edit it, but they need to be able to see it. So this is the file structure that we have, and it's broken out in basically by VPs, and then we have campus-specific info in here as well. Now that's the file structure. If I was to say, find the pricing information that IT has for pricing standards, you'd probably go into information technology, and you'd have to poke around, and that's the way it is right now on our old SharePoint. We don't want that. We want to separate out the storage and the presentation layers. So we've got, and not all of the information is here yet. This is still very, very much under construction. But right now we're calling it useful links. I don't know what the name of this tab will be long term, but right now this is where you can find the technology training. So if you come in here, you're going to find the useful links underneath the little hamburger they have up there. This is probably what you'll see first. And there are several different things. There's that list I was talking about, the standard IT equipment pricing and purchasing information. And if you use the little hamburger, you can see there are other pages in here. And that link is also there. Will take you to this second page as well. And there's the recordings from the intro. These are all recordings from back in March when we were first launching all these new technologies. We've got the Cisco email security that we trained on in July, and we've got some information on remote access. So this separates the storage layer where you're having to hunt through file folders, trying to figure out how somebody else decided to categorize things and store things, which is very, very difficult, from the presentation layer, so we can make the presentation layer make a lot more sense. And so people can store however they want to store, and we can present it. With that said, what I want to do now is go into, let's see, I can go into here. And this is chat. So This is one of our primary topics that we're going to talk about here, and we'll actually go into our own chat here in just a moment, but this is chat within the team. You can see I'm in the team's area over here on the left, and I'm in the general channel, and I'm on the posts tab, and you can see different chats that have been going on here. David talking about doing updates, and he tags the team. We'll talk about how to do that in just a few minutes, and you guys can practice it. We also have replies that are there. It makes it collapsed so we can more easily see conversations. Some of these will have multiple replies. Again, we have some nice, neat little GIF and video and all kinds of animation capabilities that can make these things interesting and fun to do when you're talking with folks that are in your team. If I want to start a new conversation, I simply click New Conversation. Down here at the bottom, you can see I've got font formatting. I can actually attach files here, though that's not going to put it in the files area, so this would only be a temporary file type thing. Emojis, GIFs, all kinds of other options. This is your stream option, which we're not going to cover tonight either. Praise, which is new. I'm not real familiar with Praise. That's a very new one. And then we've got all kinds of other apps that we can add. Again, we're not going to go into those tonight, but basically if I wanted to mention the team, I could do @ and tag the entire team. If I wanted to tag a specific person, I could begin typing their name, and I think I messed that up by backspacing. So I can then tag Chad and type it in, and it'll give him a notification that I've tagged him in a specific chat. That's a whole new conversation. If I want to reply to one, I hit reply. And again, up here, I've got the same options at the bottom that I can run through. It looks like we've got a chat over here from one of you guys. And as I go in there to answer that, just bear with me. This is team chat. So I can go into any of these teams except for all team members. Like I said, nobody else can chat in there except for the owners of the team. And I can go in there and I can chat with other folks that are in the team. And it's basically instant messaging. One of the great things about the chat system is that it will stay there permanently. So if a new team member comes on board, they can scroll back through and they can look and they can see the kind of jokes that are used or an information that's been given out. Maybe they go back and they need to figure out what was said about a certain topic and what the discussion was like. And if that discussion is held via chat, they'll have access to all that information, which is a great thing. If you use email, because these also function as email groups, I should say that. If you use the email groups, guess what? They don't have access to those old emails in the old system. So this gives them access to, they'll also have access to all the old emails. I'll show you that later. We covered that in intro, but they'll have access to all the old chats too. So let's go over here to chat, and we're going to find in chat, there are multiple different kinds of chats. Go over how old Chattertree works. Certainly we'll do that, no problem at all. So in chat, you can chat with your team underneath the post tab, or you can come into the chat area and you can chat with an individual or a group of individuals. And in essence, that's kind of like making an ad hoc team. So we're actually in a meeting right now, so we've got all kinds of other things going on, and I'm sharing my screen with you through the same tool that I'm using to show you everything, so it makes things a little bit different. But if I wanted to do a new chat, I would simply click New Chat, type in the name, or it could be a group if you wanted to tag an entire group. If you know that the name of that team is the LTC IT team, I think it's space IT. It's not going to let me do that. Okay, that's fine. But I could tag any person that I needed to here. If I needed to talk to Kathy Alden, once we have everybody using Microsoft Teams, I can simply tag her and then start typing. I'm not going to do that because I'm sure Kathy's not actually with us right now. But I could tag that, start typing to her, and she'd get those messages. One tip here, even if somebody is not using Teams on a regular basis yet, if you send them a message through Teams, after I think it's 5 minutes of that person not logging in and checking the message, maybe 10 minutes or so, it will send them an email and say, hey, somebody's trying to contact you through Teams, click here to go see the message. And if they click that link, they can put in their username and password and get in and be able to see the message inside Teams. They may not know how to do anything with it yet, but again, we're hopeful our training will correct that issue. While you're here in chat with an individual or with a group, as you can note here, these are the people that are in our meeting right now. Up here, you can see our pictures across the top. We've got all kinds of other functionalities within this chat group. Again, this is an ad hoc chat group. This is not a team. You don't have to call IT to build one of these. So if you and 2 or 3 other instructors decide, hey, let's have a chat group, you guys can build one. You've got an area in here for files, and you can put your files in here. You've got an area for meeting notes, which I honestly haven't used, a whiteboard that you can use to draw stuff in here, and then you can meet. Right now there's already a meeting going on. That's why it's showing us all this stuff. It's a scheduled meeting here, and you could click join if there was already a meeting going on. Of course, I'm already in it, but there's tons of different things like that we can do. So again, I'm not going to go into all the whiteboard meeting notes or files stuff. Those will all be kind of covered in different sessions. We're mainly concerned about the chat. So how to archive old chat entries. That's not one that I've ever honestly have looked at. Basically, I've always just left the old chats there on purpose, because I like for people to be able to scroll back through the old chats. So you can see mine goes back through April. I've been using this for a whole lot longer than April. That's because it's underneath recent chats that I've had here. If I go online, they are archived permanently. You guys don't have to archive them. They are archived permanently by the system, because your account is put underneath an archive for a 5-year hold. So those chats will be at least out there for a 5-year hold. So if I'm in a chat with somebody and I want to some filtering options, sure. So right here you got your little filter, and you have different options that are here. You can mute specific chats. They won't send you notifications. And what we'll do is we'll take a look at a notification in a moment or two. You can filter out just for meetings that are going on, or you can filter out for chat groups or individual chats that have unread messages, or you could filter by name. So if all I wanted to see were the chats that had the name of it with Teams in there. See, this is the name of the chat. This one's called MS Teams Chats and Calls. It's from the meeting itself. There's the one that we did originally. That's the introduction, the Teams test, or the introduction to Microsoft Teams. So this actually works, fairly well if you're looking for basic filtering back through your chats. Again, for me, I use this all day, every day. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have that many chats here. There's not that much, even though I use it all day, every day. It kind of, due to the nature that we usually talk to the same small group of people that we work with on a regular basis, it's not that, it doesn't usually get too long and lengthy like email does, where that's more, widespread and you talk to a lot more folks. You can search, and this will search inside of all of your chats. So if I was going to look for, let's see, I don't know if I've ever used the word successful. I probably spelled it wrong anyway. Here I am in messages, and so I can find every single chat that I've had, and you can see that goes back beyond even the 420 that was just being displayed, and that was using the main search bar up top. I can also have it let search for, obviously nobody with the name successful is in our organization, and then files that might have the word successful in them, including searching inside of PDFs. The search is actually pretty robust. The problem with the search is you're going to be searching everything that you have access to, and in all team members, there's a lot of stuff that goes in there. Does that help, Mark, as far as some of the filtering things? It's fairly basic, but I haven't had a lot of need for it, honestly. Good. So you can add additional folks to the group. So if you only have one person, maybe you started this chat with somebody, and you need to bring someone else into that discussion, then you most certainly can do that. You can click there up at the top to add, and you can click on add people, and then you start adding people here at the college. Again, this is primarily an inter-office tool for folks here at the college. And so I can add in Chad Cathy if I wanted to, and this is one of the things maybe that would help you here, Mark. If you have a chat with an individual person, maybe you don't want them to see all of the chat history, and so you have that option, or you can include only portions of that history. in all honesty, if I'm going to do a group chat with somebody, it's kind of like a thing that I would do. I would create a new chat unless they needed to see the chat history of the discussions that were in that chat. I would create a new chat just for the sake of keeping things clean and making sure that my discussions stay separated. You can't really think about it like a telephone, because with a telephone, you can very easily just conference someone in, and then when they hang up, you know when the other person are alone again. With a chat system, they're going to see everything that's been said unless you specifically exclude those things. And to me, I don't even ever want to think about that. So my go-to is always, if I'm going to have a group chat, that is a new chat, unless I already have that group defined. So I am going to take a look at one of the groups that I already have here. So this is one where we have a few people already in the group. And one of the neat things you can do in chat is you can edit the name. So I can say whatever I want to call this. It'll by default just be listed the names of the folks here. But if I wanted to call this the Cool Kids Club, now that is the Cool Kids Club. So I can go find that group chat easily again. And again, that's just a personal preference. You guys can do it however you'd like, but you can see here in this chat, the name of this specific chat is already there based on the name of the class that we're taking that was there, and that's from the calendar entry and whatnot, which we'll cover when we do meetings. Now, inside chat, you can tag folks. We talked about that. So what I'm going to do, Mark, if you would, if you do like @AHardy, you should see my name. Of course, I can't find myself, but you should see that. Go ahead and see if you can tag me there and type something in. And while he's working on that, sure, not a problem. Yeah, I understand. You're looking at mine thinking, oh, that's where I need to type. I'm going to tag you guys. You can see I'm just typing @ in the first part of your name, and it'll find you, and I can hit enter and it'll finish it out. Now pay attention to, I think it'll be the lower right-hand corner of your screen, and you may hear a sound as well. You may not, because, well, you probably are. If you're looking at my remote control session, ask for a message. So yeah, you should be able to, if you type @Anthony, well, I can't, like I said, I can't tag myself. So Mark, if you see what I'm doing here, I'm typing @Mark and how it gives me that suggestion. If you do that, so don't worry about that right now so much. You guys got to see, hopefully, the notification. Did you guys see that notification pop up in the lower left-hand, lower right-hand portion of your screen, or a sound? Awesome. Good. Glad you guys got it. So the tagging is, there we go. That's it. And what you guys can't see is my my cell phone actually just went off too at the same time. So that's something I haven't covered real quick. I haven't covered yet. I'll cover it really quickly. You can install the Microsoft Teams app on your cell phone and log in with your Linear Tech email address and password. And of course, you guys are probably using personal devices, so you'll need to do two-factor authentication when you're off campus. With that, you'll have access to chat, and it'll be the exact same chat groups, the exact same stuff. The buttons actually are very, very, very easy to find. Everything makes intuitive sense, which is really surprising for Microsoft, but they've done an excellent job with the design of that app on the phone. So it works well. There we go. So I just saw there's an individual message from Kim. She's telling me that there is an issue, and I heard it go off on my phone. You guys probably heard that as well. So it's nice because I get those notifications even when I'm not at my PC. So I'll pop over here. It's covering part of the screen. It must be the, let me turn off my camera, and maybe that, well, my camera's off. So it must still be the picture-in-picture Kim there. I'm sorry about that. We can wait just a minute if you want to try to drag it around, or usually on picture-in-picture, if you click on the little dash that's up here in the upper left-hand corner of the picture-in-picture, you can minimize it. And so mark there, the one thing you have to do if you start typing it, of course I can't find myself, is it needs to show that suggestion, because if I just do space, see, it's not actually tagging you. You can see the difference where I got tagged up here, or how these, when we tagged all three of you guys, how it looks a little different. Right here, there's no actual tag, so you have to let it, usually if you just hit enter, see how it changed to last name, comma, first name, and it's highlighted in blue. That means that the tag actually worked. So that is the one thing you need to look at there. As far as GIFs, you guys can play with this all day long. Good. Hopefully whatever, maybe that was just me down there in the corner that was causing a problem with my picture in picture. So I'm just going to pick the first thing that comes up here, and it's a little GIF. And I'm going to go into detail on these guys because y'all can figure out how to do that. We can set standard delivery. These are different things. This urgent, if you really want to be annoying to somebody, you can pick urgent. So if they don't, if you know the person is using Microsoft Teams, or even if they're not, if you pick urgent and you send a message and they don't read it, the system knows if you've read it. It's kind of like a phone. If you pick the status as urgent when you send the message, it's going to notify them, as it'll tell you right there, every 2 minutes for 20 minutes in a row, which means you're going to send them 10 notifications. So on their PC, they're going to get 10 pop-ups. They're going to get 10 emails over the 20-minute period. So they will definitely know that you wanted to get in touch with them very badly. It can be handy in emergency situations as well. So now with that, we also have a little hamburger at the top right, and that's going to give me more information about the meeting, and we'll cover more of that in meetings, and that will show me all kinds of RSVP information, but again, we'll cover all that in meetings, but just so that you're not left hanging, that is a button that's up there, and we'll cover that in detail in meetings itself. Again, you can see in here, I've got this chat that Kim sent to me, and I've got files here, so I can share some files out with Kim and she'll have access to those files. I can also look at the organization, and it's going to give me an idea of the organizational chart. So if I scroll up, you're going to see how that works. I don't know if that's actually right there or not. It's supposed to be. That may be right. And then how Shannon reports to Carl and Carl reports to Dr. Perrin. Activity will show you basic information if you have other things in other teams that you have in common. So if Kim and I were, if I had activity over in the all team members, both of us are in that team. So I click on activity even within the individual chat, and I can see that, you know, maybe Kim has edited a document in all team members, or Kim could see if I had edited a document in all team members. We're not going to get into the additional tabs because y'all, there's a bunch. If y'all want to play with it, feel free to. A lot of the more tabs down here below are going to cost money. So they'll require some sort of a subscription to another service, but not all of them. There's a tool called Poly. We'll go over that at some point in an advanced class where you can run polls. So there's all kinds of lovely little additional apps you can add in all kinds of different places inside of Microsoft Teams. One of the things we wanted to talk about was chat, and I've covered most of the different things here that I planned on covering tonight. Is there anything else in chat that you guys would like to cover? Basically, you're just talking to people, and you know how to create a new chat group. You know you can do it inside a team. That's pretty much it. You can share files. Is there anything else inside a basic chat screen that you guys would like to see covered tonight? All right, I'll take silence as a no. So let's talk about calls. So I'm going to come back here to, and while I'm on this meeting with you guys, I can't actually make another call right now. It would kick me out of the meeting. But I wanted to show you that while you're here, there's two ways to go about making a call. If you're already in a chat with somebody and you're like, you know what, this discussion would be a lot easier if we could hear and or see each other. So at the upper right-hand corner, I can click and do a video call. And it's and of course, my camera can be muted or not, just like it can in a meeting. Or I can do an audio call. And it's not going to call their cell phone number yet. That's something I hope we can introduce sometime late next year. Or not, or their desk office number or whatever. I'm hoping that we can set up the system so that you can tie it and have it forward off to the number of your choice. For most full-time folks, that would go directly to their desk number, and then they would forward their desk phone wherever they needed to go. But it's real simple. You'll simply click the button and it calls them. I mean, it is absolutely that simple. And if you want to add someone else to the call, you just click plus, and there you go. You've got conference calling. That's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot. Screen sharing. I know we talked about that really briefly, Mark, in the beginning. There's your screen sharing option. And when you're in the screen sharing option, across the top is a big button that says request control. And that will pop up on the other end. This other person is asked to control your screen. Is that okay? And if they say yes, then you've got control of their computer. Again, which can be helpful in technical support situations, especially. Oh, I didn't cover this. How many times, I'm so glad when Microsoft added this, have I needed to go look for a file over in a team while I was having a chat conversation because I needed to be able to tell that person where the file was. And normally what I had to do before was I had to click over here, go find the file, then go back to chat. And that just was very cumbersome because I had to leave the chat. Now I've got this option right here up top at the right. You'll see it's a little square with the arrow popping out. It's pop out the chat. So when I click that, it pops out in a new window, and I can come over here, do what I need to do, and my chat's waiting right here for me. If I close it, it doesn't delete it. It doesn't go anywhere. It just closes the pop out. That's important to know. It's still right back here as soon as I click on chat. So again, calls, very simple, not too complicated. Audio and video. You don't have, if you click on video call and you didn't want to do video, it's not the end of the world. Just turn off your camera. Then the other person, if their camera comes on, they have the option to turn it off as well. No big deal. If you also want another way to look at calls and one other function of calls that you need to be aware of, you've got the calls option over here on the left-hand side. So I'm going to click over there. You can set up speed dials. You can set up group calling right there. Say new group, you define your own group. So if you know you and these 3 other people need to talk on a regular basis, but you're not going to do it through chat, you're only going to do it through calls, you can do it here. Or you can do it through chat and you can use the meet function that's over there. Let's see, we've got a question back here. There we go. Very cool. I'm glad you like it. So back here in calls, you have contacts, right? So these are people that you can add. This should pull from your Microsoft Office Outlook address book. These should be 1 and 2 the same, which I don't have very many people saved. I just know email addresses. I remember them fairly well. Looks like we've got another chat over there. Is this replacing Jabber? In the long run, yes. For chat and those type of features, we hope it replaces Jabber by March of 2021. We hope to be able to replace the calls function within Jabber. I can't tell you exactly when. I'm hoping we can replace the calls function within Jabber by the end of next year. That'll be a much larger project that we'll have to take on, and I'm not sure exactly when we're going to be able to make that happen, but it will replace the chat functionality, the screen sharing. I'm hoping we get most people to move off of Jabber for those functions over onto Teams. Now, I'm going to tell you, we're not going to force Jabber to go away anytime soon. And I know Student Services is heavily invested and used to using Jabber. We're not going to make them stop. But we're hoping that once you see the capabilities of Teams and the flexibility and functionality that it has, that there'll be a natural migration of those folks that are using Jabber over to Microsoft Teams because it's a much better platform. I mean, just flat out. Cisco's abandoned Jabber development in favor of their Teams product, WebEx Teams. And honestly, WebEx Teams doesn't hold a candle to Microsoft Teams. I hate they call them the same thing. It makes it very confusing. So back under calls, there's one thing here that you do need to be aware of is this little voicemail button here. So if someone calls you on Microsoft Teams and you don't answer, because when someone gets a call, you'll see it in the lower left-hand corner, just like you do with Jabber, and it'll ask you whether or not you want to answer it or not. You will go to their voicemail. I was absolutely shocked by this. Didn't know this was there. I was trying to get hold of Chad Cathy, and he didn't answer my call because he was dealing with somebody on another line, and it went to voicemail. I left him a voicemail and said, Chad, I didn't know this thing had voicemail. Let me know if you get this. Sure enough, he got a little activity notification in Microsoft Teams that somebody had left him a voicemail. He had a missed call under calls. He saw it under chat that I had missed him there as well. He got a notification pop up and an email all telling him that, hey, somebody tried to get in touch with you and left you a voicemail. One click took him over to this tab right here. He hit the play button. It played the voicemail. Didn't have to have a phone. Didn't have, again, nothing extra had to be installed, no Java or anything like that. We're, like I said, the thing with Microsoft Teams that we're trying to do is simplify, simplify, simplify. Put it underneath one pane of glass, everything inside of, most everything inside of one application to make it easier. So you'll see voicemails here. You just answer them. Now, I'm hoping this does create if you are a full-time person, this creates a second voicemail box for you. The good news is it's going to send it to you an email too, just like our regular phone system does. So if you're checking your voicemail through email, you'll just see another email with voicemails attached. It won't be any different. It might come from a different user. So if you have filters for that, we won't get into the details there. But if you have filters for those email things that come from the phone system, you need to set up a new one for the emails that come from Microsoft Teams. But if you make it a habit to open up Microsoft Teams, and when you open up your computer and just minimize it, then you won't miss anything, because you'll see if one of you guys send a chat while I'm right here. Doesn't matter where you send it to, just make sure it's a group that I'm either directly to me or back in our main chat group. And I can show you what I mean. I know you guys are looking at my desktop and then you have to minimize everything. I do apologize. That does make it a little more difficult. I'll talk about it while you guys are getting there. You'll see the little one up here next to the chat, but you'll also see this down here at the bottom. There we go. So I've got activity because I got a missed chat. I've got a chat there, and down here at the bottom I can see I've got two things that I missed. So it's blinking. So if you just open Microsoft Teams when you start using your computer, minimize it, don't ever think about it. If somebody tries to contact you, it's going to show up. You can't miss it. And then you'll be able to go to activity and see, what was that? Oh, that's an @mention. There we go. Look at that cute little kitty. Inside a burger. That's crazy. So the reason I got activity and chat is because Mark tagged me. So that's what tagging does. It gives you that extra push. Because if there's a group chat going on and I don't need to pay attention to it, I may end up with several missed chats in there because I know I don't need to pay attention to those. But if somebody tags me, I'll get the sound. Hopefully you guys, I don't know if you could hear that. It barely came through, but there's a sound that comes through when the chat comes through. And I get a notification underneath activity, a notification under chat, and of course that will show up down here in my tray, down at the very bottom, in my my taskbar, where I can see that. And I can read that from activity here, or I can read that from chat here, either way, and it'll clear out the notifications in both locations. So that's pretty much it. The calls is really, really brief. We're going to get more in depth with the meeting side of things, of course, but for the most part, simply hit call and you can talk to people, either the video call or the audio call, as long as of course, your mic and whatnot are working. Let me cover that real quick. I think you guys have already know how to do that fairly well. We bring back up our meeting here. You got device settings. I know, Mark, you're on a Linux box, so yours may be a little bit differently, but if you're using the desktop version, which I very highly recommend you use, you can come over here to device settings and pick your microphone. You may have a built-in microphone. That one's my internal microphone. That one's a virtual device that doesn't do anything. And then I've got a Yeti Nano that I have plugged in, and then which speakers you're going to use. So, and then of course, if you have multiple cameras, which camera you're going to use, that type of thing. So knowing those settings is very important. Again, when we go to meetings, we'll cover a bunch more stuff. There is one thing I'll show you. This we'll cover in meetings too, but this is just always fun. I'm going to turn my camera on for a minute. And you can pick virtual backgrounds. It's just underneath that drop down. And you can pick virtual backgrounds, and there's all kinds of different ones. So just hit apply. And there we go. So if you guys can see, it's just put the Golden Gate Bridge back there behind me, which is really handy to do if you don't want people to see things. You've got a blur background that will blur everything, and you can add your own. So if you hit add new, you just find a picture and it'll put that picture in the background behind you. Now Microsoft has taken that to the next step. And this is a new thing that they have. And of course, not everybody has their camera on, so it won't be quite as effective here. Mark, you want to turn your camera on for me for a minute? Or if you, one of you other guys would turn it on, that'd be great, but you don't have to. Thank you, sir. So there's this new thing called Together Mode, which is, it's still in beta, that's why they call it preview, but this is just the coolest, especially if everybody can do it. So you can see it puts us together and makes us look like we're sitting in seating, and they can get up to 49 people on the screen. So 7 by 7, it's kind of neat. Now, of course, you know what most people do is like, can I actually reach over and, no, my hands just disappear. Everybody has fun with that. But that's at the individual level. So if you as an instructor like to look at your class this way, your class doesn't have to do that. Your class can just look at their screen the Brady Bunch way or whichever other view they're comfortable with. But you as an instructor, if you like that, you can turn on Together Mode. To get there, I think I probably can guess what the statement, oh, that's okay, Kim, don't worry about that. So what you have to do to get there, to get Together Mode turned on, in case you guys are interested, is you have to go back to your main Teams window, click on your picture and go to Settings. And then there's a setting in here to turn on the new meeting experience. Just check that. That's all you have to do is check that. It'll auto save, close out, and then if you have to after you after you change that setting, you have to sign out of Microsoft Teams, and then you have to find the Teams icon down here and right click and quit. So, or you can restart your computer. That effectively amounts to the same thing. And then you'll have the all together preview functionality, which again is just a fun little thing that they're doing. Something that we'll hopefully have available for us by the time we get to our meeting training late in October is there's another icon that goes in here between the hand and your 3 dots here that will be for breakout rooms. So if you're an instructor and you want to have discussions in your classes amongst the students, you can have breakout rooms in the WebEx version, which was just released 2 weeks ago, and I'm sure Microsoft is going to follow suit. You as the instructor will be able to design those rooms. I think this already exists in Collaborate. Mark, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you just basically define the rooms. There are 3 rooms, you give them the names, whatever you want them to be, and you move the students over into those rooms or let the students join the rooms that they prefer, and you as an instructor can pop in or out of any of the rooms to see how those discussions are going.
Yeah, I haven't used that feature. Most of the time when I've used the Collaborate feature, I've had a camera just showing the screen and the students showing me how to connect a particular feature in the operating system on their machine.
Cool.
So.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we anticipate doing in the future is, and this may not be something anybody's, well, let me make a statement before I say that. From an IT perspective, I will never give a dictate as long as I'm here, and I don't think you're going to get that from instruction either on which tool you as an instructor should use. I think instructors get to pick what tools they use for what they teach. I believe very strongly in academic freedom. So don't ever expect any sort of a dictate coming out of my office for that. But we will make sure that you guys have different tools available where possible. So you've got Blackboard Collaborate, you've got WebEx, you've got Microsoft Teams. and we'll make sure training materials are available. So I will say that up front, but we are going to, over the next probably 12 to 15 months, merge the student and employee systems together, which is how they should be. And if you as a instructor, and the adult ed side is a little different, I know, but if you as an instructor have students, you'll be able to have a team for your class, a Microsoft team for your class. And I haven't played with it at all, but there's assignment functionality over here, which, we're not looking for a Blackboard replacement, but there's different things in here that you can do as an instructor, just like Google has that available as well. And we'll probably do some training on Google Meets, because I don't know if you guys know that, but every employee has a Google account, just like every student does. The email portion is turned off, but you've got all the other functionality of the Google Suite using the same email address and password at Linear Tech. It maintains that username and password for you as you change it in our system. So there's at least 4 different ways you can use to present materials to your class. And again, I'm all for academic freedom. And so what we'll try to do is the more in-depth training will go towards the tool that more instructors use. Of course, no, we don't do NIT, we don't do Collaborate, that's Angelia. But I know, and Wendy, I know they've done a great job of Collaborate training, but we'll do as much in-depth training on whichever tool people want to use, preferably on the IT side as well. That's all I've got for y'all. Y'all have any questions for me? No? Cancel the October 8th.
This was good and helpful.
Good.
And I have used Google Meet, but that's to get it to where you can control the other person's machine. You have to go to a paid subscription for that, and I'm not at that point yet.
Oh, yeah.
I'm willing to spend that money.
Yeah. So one point here, Mark, and this might be useful to you, and if you want, I'd be more than happy to cover it with you. And I will get to your question in just a minute, Kim. You can invite a student to a Microsoft Teams meeting right now.
Okay.
And they don't have to have Teams. It's just like WebEx or Zoom or anything else like that. That you can invite them to a meeting and then do the remote session stuff with them through Teams if you wanted to do that.
Okay.
I believe for the remote desktop piece to work, they might have to have the desktop client though. They Google download Microsoft Teams and they can download it. That should be all they have to do. And if they log in with their student email address, then I believe all that will work. Might need to test it for you, but I know it worked for us when we did support of some students and some faculty. So I think that should. But we'll do some more testing on it, and I'll send you an email on it in the next couple of weeks if I can remember. If you don't hear from me in a week or two, well, give me a week after graduation. That's a 14-hour day for us. So give me a week after graduation, and if you haven't heard from me, just give me an email and remind me, give me a poke and say, hey, you said you'd do this, and I'll go make sure it gets done.
Okay.
So yeah, that should still be on, Kim. Absolutely. We're definitely not canceling those trainings. If we do, I would send out an email to everybody that has signed up for them, for sure. All right. No more questions, guys?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. You bet. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. One thing for you here, again, let me share my screen again real quick. Oh, I'm still sharing, okay. So just a reminder, there are 2 places that you guys actually attended the class. You'll be able to find it in 2 places, but this is the place where you can find all of our training. So go to all team members and go to useful links. And then you'll probably see instead of seeing the technology training, you're probably going to see useful links up front. You'll see technology training right there. So all team members, you're already in general, click on useful links and click on technology training. This session, hopefully tomorrow will be loaded up here, and you'll see the additional entries down here for that. But for y'all, since y'all are actually in the class, you may have noticed as we scroll back up that the meeting started here. And then there should be a recording there. Recording has started. So I believe when I stop the recording, and I'll do that here in just a second, that you should be able to see the recording piece down here. So I'm going to stop that recording now. I have to go back to the actual meeting to stop that. I'm going to keep our meeting going, but I'm going to stop the recording.